welcome to our final edition of Let's Talk Criterion for November. And I can see on YouTube that many have been taking advantage of the 50% off Barnes & Noble sale on Criterion titles. Now, although stock in many stores has diminished, it hasn't discouraged people from driving around and checking out their local stores for the most wanted titles. In this edition, we take a look at the 1973 film Paper Moon, directed by Peter Bogdanovich. Bogdanovich had been given his directorial break by his mentor of many years, Roger Corman, and that was with Targets in 1968. But his real career breakthrough came through with the drama The Last Picture Show, which he had decided to film in black and white to evoke the period. This was done against the advice given to him, but he was proven right, as the film was a snapshot on teenage life in a small Midwestern backdrop, and of course it was a big cinematic success. In Paper Moon, he repeated this approach. Screenwriter Alvin Sargent adapted the script from the 1971 novel Addie Pray by Joe David Brown. The film, shot in black and white, is set in Kansas and Missouri during the Great Depression. It stars the real-life father and daughter pairing of Ryan and Tatum O'Neal as protagonists Moses and Addie. Now, in Gorham, Kansas, circa 1966, iterate conman Moses Pray meets 9-year-old Addie Luggins at her mother's graveside service, where the neighbours suspect he's Addie's father. Now, he denies this, but agrees to deliver the orphaned Addie to her aunt's home in St. Joseph, Missouri. At a local grain mill, Moses convinced the brother of the man who accidentally killed Addie's mother to give him $200 for the newly orphaned Addie. And Addie overhears this conversation, and after Moses spends nearly half the money fixing his old Model A convertible and buying her a train ticket, she demands the money as rightfully hers, whereupon Moses agrees to let Addie travel with him until he's raised back the full $200 to give to her. And thereafter, Moses visits recently widowed women, pretending to have previously sold expensive personalised Bibles to their deceased husbands, and the widows pay him for the Bibles inscribed with their names. Addie joins in with this scam, pretending she is his daughter, and exhibits a talent for confidence tricks such as selling Bibles and the quick change scam. Now, as time passes, Moses and Addie become a formidable team. I love the mistaken money trick that Addie plays on the shopkeeper, where Addie capitalises with her childlike disappointment with feigned tears to complete a perfectly executed con on the unsuspecting shop assistant. Now, the film is set in the Depression era in America, and like films like Grapes of Wrath, it manages to mix the reality with the ingenuity practiced by this man and the little girl in the Kansas of 1936 to earn money and just get by with the hardships of the time. This is the quintessential road movie. These are two mismatched characters thrown together by circumstance that start to understand that as a team, they are stronger than they can be when they are individuals. And when necessary, Tatum plays the poor, stranded, bereaved little girl, behaviour that prompts all manner of sympathy from idiots who at that time had no chance of knowing any better. Often mentally slower than his young charge, Moses soon gets into the swing of things, and like all tempted onto the wrong path, he gets ambitious, and criminal ambition is hard to keep hidden from those enthusiastically enforcing laws. Playing both brothers, the bootlegger and the police chief, is John Hillerman. Now, he's well known to cinema audiences in the 70s as the serene philosopher of Rock Ridge in Mel Brooks's Blazing Saddles, Hard Johnson. We also have a very young Randy Quaid in a wrestling match with O'Neal for a car trade, and you will recognise also a few well-known faces, if not names, from 2 decades of US television imports to the UK. Madeline Kahn plays Trixie Delight, so not a given name, who enthralls Moses but whose morals and body, in the heady and brutal days of the Depression, take a few tumbles. Madeline was nominated for an Academy Award for her role the following year, but lost out to Tatum O'Neal, who still remains the youngest ever actor at age 10 to win that accolade. In fact, here is that moment in 1974.
Well, now, The ladies nominated for Best Performance in a Supporting Role are Linda Blair for The Exorcist,
Candy Clark for American Graffiti,
Madeline Kahn for Paper Moon,
Tatum O'Neal for Paper Moon,
Sylvia Sidney for Summer Wishes, Winter Dreams. The winner is
Tatum O'Neal.
All I really want to thank is my director, Peter Bogdanovich, and my father. Thank you.
Tatum O'Neal as Addie and as an actress is streets ahead of most in her profession when it comes to being able to do a particular thing convincingly. At just 9 years of age, she smokes on screen utterly believably. She clearly takes the smoke in and exhales from her lungs and not her mouth. Director Peter Bogdanovich was disgruntled at being the most successful director in the newly formed Directors' Company. Now, that was founded by Bogdanovich, William Friedkin and Francis Ford Coppola. The deal here was that all three would share each other's profits. After Paper Moon made over 10 times its budget and Coppola's superb but not successful The Conversation frankly didn't, Bogdanovich wasn't as thrilled with the arrangement. Friedkin didn't even get to make his movie before the company was disbanded. Now, Paper Moon was shot in the small towns of Hayes in Kansas, McCracken, Wilson, Dorrance, and St. Joseph, Missouri, with various shooting locations taking place, including the Midland Hotel in Wilson, the railway depot at Gorham, and storefronts and buildings were on Main Street in White Cloud, Hayes, and sites on both sides of the Missouri River, Rouleau Bridge, and St. Joseph in Missouri. The car Moses is driving when he agrees to take Addie home is a 1930 Ford Model A convertible, and the car he buys to impress Miss Trixie, that's a 1936 Ford V8 Deluxe convertible. Now, while selecting music for the film, Bogdanovich heard the song It's Only a Paper Moon by Billy Rose, Yip Harburg and Harold Arlen. And seeking advice from his close friend and mentor, Orson Welles, Bogdanovich listed Paper Moon as a possible alternative. Welles responded, "Well, that title is so good, you shouldn't even make the picture. You should just release the title." Bogdanovich added the scene in which Addie has her picture taken in a paper moon solely so the studio would allow him to use that title. Now, there's something hugely attractive about monochrome 35mm, and especially on this transfer over to 4K. Paper Moon has an aesthetic that is wonderfully captured by the HDR grading here. The contrast is punchy, it delivers coal hole blacks and an attractive tonal range, and the image boasts a sharpness that really brings out the textures in clothing, faces and background detail, which, thanks to Laszlo Kovacs' deep focus cinematography, is every bit as clear as the foreground is. The film grain is always visible and just occasionally more pronounced, but always it feels right for the film stock and never feels artificially enhanced. And as you would hope, not a dust spot to be seen. And there's not a trace of picture instability either. The framing is 166:1, a slight crop from the original. Now, Criterion sometimes comes in for criticism with its encodes, but I can tell you there's no evidence of that in this particular encode. Now, the cast for the film is as follows. We've Ryan O'Neal as Moses Prey, Tatum O'Neal, his daughter, as Addie Loggins, Madeline Kahn as Trixie Delight, John Hillerman as Deputy Harden and Jess Harden, Burton Gillum as Floyd, PJ Johnson as Imogen, James N. Harrell as the Minister, Noble Willingham as Mr. Robertson, Randy Quaid as Leroy, Hugh Gillen as the Second Deputy, and Rose Mary Rumbley as Aunt Bee. And Paper Moon is still well worth a look if you can easily put up with a whimsical look at a father-daughter relationship with the backdrop of a very tragic and all too real event. Now, Tatum O'Neal did carry on in film and indeed in television, but she never starred in anything quite as successful as Paper Moon. She really has had a difficult life. She had a massive stroke brought on by a drug overdose in 2020, which left her in a coma. But she's been brave, and over the past few years she's relearned everything, and now is 61. And there was a sitcom based on the movie on ABC television, which aired for one season only in 1974. And the only mentionable thing I can say about that is that it actually featured Jodie Foster in the role of Adelaide Addie Loggins. And of course, look what happened to her. Now, the 4K UHD package comes as usual with a separate Blu-ray and contains the following features. New 4K digital restoration with uncompressed mono soundtrack. One 4K UHD of the film in Dolby Vision HDR, and one Blu-ray with the film and these special features. An audio commentary featuring director Peter Bogdanovich and an introduction to the film by Bogdanovich. A new video essay by Bogdanovich, biographer Peter Tonguet. 3-part making documentary featuring Bogdanovich, production designer Polly Platt, associate producer Frank Marshall, and the cinematographer Laszlo Kovacs. An archival interview with Platt. Excerpts from a 1973 episode of The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson and featuring Bogdanovich, and the actors Ryan and Tatum O'Neal. Location scouting footage, which has an audio commentary by Marshall, a trailer, and a written essay by the critic Mark Harris. And the cover art for Paper Moon is by Raphael Garrone. Paper Moon has a running time of 102 minutes, and it's in a 1:66:1 aspect ratio, and it releases as 4K Blu-ray Digipack on Tuesday the 26th of November as Spine 1241. Now we take a short break for a week, but we return in December with a long-awaited title, and on 4K UHD it's the superb 1984 film from Wim Wenders, Paris, Texas, starring Harry Dean Stanton and Natasha Kinski. So from me, until that edition, it's goodbye, and above all, good Criterion viewing.